Um, First thing we're gonna do is leave you guys for a few minutes. We're probably half an hour to 45 minutes. I'll say half an hour first, and then if we're gonna extend it, I will come back.
You didn't leave the cupcakes here.
Yeah, they're right there. But executive session to discuss potential legal risks of a current practice where legal risk is likely to result in adverse legal or financial consequence to the district, and to review the performance of a public employee. So I'm guessing the first one will take 25 minutes to 30 minutes, and the second will take 10 to 15. So I apologize for that, but we need to leave you guys for a few minutes. When we come back, we'll jump right into the everything else. So we're gonna retire to the other.
You can come.
No reassession. Okay, that's late.
I have a few cupcakes while I'm gone, please. Again, I apologize for this. Being patient.
We were just chatting.
Did you guys eat any of my cupcakes?
You told the new people about.
All right. All right, thank you. Come back into regular sessions. Lex?
All right. Well, I just want to say first that there is just some community sadness that I wanted to make sure I recognize and let you know that our HomeLink family, the Carollo family, is in our thoughts. Gretchen and Christy Champeau and the team did a nice job this morning of really being there for families and for kids today. So I just wanted to make sure that the family knows that they are in our thoughts. We're coming their way, and really appreciate the way that the communities come together, the church communities come together to provide them support, as well as the HomeLink community. So just awful, tragic. But just wanted to make sure I started off with that and acknowledging that family's in our thoughts. And then I'm going to turn it over to Carrie to give us information on ridership and transportation and where we're at. Welcome. Happy to have you.
Ridership, I don't know if everybody knows what ridership really is. It's how transportation is funded. And it's off of count is a huge part of ridership. And then we have to report like fuel and mileage, McKinney-Vento, mileage and all that stuff throughout the year. And then OCI, don't know who it is, has some magic numbers, and they get in their little computer and they figure it out. Don't know that. Brendan might know a little bit more than that.
I don't think they know.
That has changed throughout the years because like your rural places will say, well, that's not really benefiting us, but then your city people will say, well, that formula really isn't benefiting us. And so it has changed throughout my 33 years in transportation, and I think it's pretty fair, right? Right now, it treats us pretty well. So ridership, just to give you a little sneak peek, and I always talk about before COVID, and I don't know why, probably because that's when we were blooming with a lot of bodies on the buses and different things. And so just ridership in 2019 to 2020, that school year, our high was 2,103. Our low was 2021. This year, and we had still 27 routes, 4 sped buses and 27 routes. And we were really close to pushing on another route. We were crowded. This year, I really thought we were going to be more our ridership was going to be up, but it wasn't. It isn't. Compared to last year, this time it's actually down a little bit. Our high is 1731 and our low is 1695. So it's a couple hundred, about 300-400 lower than 19 and 2020. Why, I'm not too sure. We're still just trying to get back into the swing of things. However, we have, we were at 27 routes. We're now down to 24 routes and still four sped routes. That is where, I don't want to say it's killing us, but boy, our sped drivers are putting on some miles because, and that's where I probably need at one time soon, maybe look at putting another sped route on. It isn't just sped. I don't want to think it's just behavior, disabilities. It's behaviors as well that goes on. If they have an IEP and they're struggling on a gen ed bus and stuff like that. Since there's an aid on there, we try to make them successful. That's the bottom line, successful. Efficiency, it's always told not to chase the efficiency. But if your efficiency is below 70%, once again, they get in their old calendar or calculator, they figure out what our efficiency is. Our efficiency historically has been down. And if it's too low, they come and they chat with you and say, well, maybe you can get rid of a route and stuff like that. But ours is just below 90. It's not that far below 90, but I do have to explain why it is. And it's road miles. That's the bottom line. It's our road miles is what kills us.
Carrie, how many on average per day miles? Do you rough? No?
I can't even tell you right off the top of my head.
Okay.
The route altogether.
Average.
Yeah. Altogether, per route, our longest route is 31, 33, they're right there.
Yeah, 36 months, I think.
Yeah, it would be the one that, it's a sped route. And that, I need to say that one thing that when people call, oh, they're on the bus for an hour and a half. We just live right over here, trying to navigate, and there's nothing. It isn't traffic. It's just bell times and different things. Somebody can live like on Cleveland Road and still be on the bus for an hour, and it can be one of our last stops to pick up because navigating to the high school, down to the middle school, to the, it's just and it's bell times is what kills us. And so I will not pick up a student before 7:00. That is just because 7:55 is when we drop off at the high school. And so those people are already on for an hour. If they're an elementary student, 2 hours. So will not pick up before 7:00. That's pretty much all. We are fully funded. The 9,900, we pay for everything. The yellow bus. Brandon does a great job of making sure that we're fully funded, and if we can stay fully funded, that's where we need to be. Anything else about ridership?
I've got, is this open to us now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you had 32 years ago, you had 27 last year, and now you're 24 today. You lost 300 or 400 students. Has the numbers at the drop off for the elementary, middle school, do we have numbers for that? Are we seeing like, I don't want the student on the bus, so I'm going to drive them to the school itself?
I don't know the answer to that question. You mean the change over time?
Is there any way of getting data on the kids who are being dropped off at the school? Because I remember Erica said, if we have less folks dropping off at the school, then they're on the bus. So we would rather have less problems at the parent pickup and drop off, fewer numbers there, and have less issues there if they're riding the bus.
So Carrie, I think he's asking if you can give us numbers that are dropped off at each school.
Is that in your area?
I mean, it's just absolutely good.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about on the buses? I was confused on the question.
Well, it's the parent drop off.
Parent drop off.
So you wouldn't have
all that data. So who has that data?
Well, we could survey parents. That's the best we could do.
Well, would the folks that do that every year, would they like, yeah, it used to be 50 cars, now it's 75 cars? Would the teachers and the principals at those schools kind of see an increase? Like I'm seeing, yeah, more,
So,
well, no, we're seeing the line go further down the block than it used to be.
well,
It's on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the only challenge,
One of the very few districts that, one day they're at grandpa's house, the next day they're at dad's house, the next 4 days they're at mom's house, that have that liberty to have so many different places kids are going.
Mhm.
And so that would be really hard as well, because like you just said, on Monday, they might be flooded. On Thursday, half of them
So
might be.
you could give us a percentage of, say, of those kids that are dropped off at each school, and we would have to interpolate which ones are dropped, which ones are not.
Yeah,
So-
I'm trying to,
or a survey of the parents who are dropping off and why they're not riding the bus.
yes.
Right? I mean,
Yes.
but that would have to be a discussion if that's another survey you want me to send out. I just
Yeah,
don't want to
keep it short and
I don't want to
sweet.
over survey families.
Yeah.
And honestly, family surveys are very low response.
So
I just will be honest because I'm watching the panorama survey. It's
maybe
disappointing.
when
Can,
Josie comes, what's the elementary school principal?
Jolene,
Jolene, sorry. When she comes in January, when we go to the elementary, we could talk to her about maybe doing some sort of a survey like that at their spring conferences,
Mm.
right? So that way we would have a little easier. Teacher could ask, do you drop your kid off, whatever, and when they come in and,
but wouldn't it be all the schools that we would be asking?
yes.
It wouldn't just
well,
be.
yeah,
And I guess
Right.
my other just question or my other thought is because DPE's had like 6 principals in 6 years, there hasn't been a lot of that continuity and consistency either. So
Yes.
I don't know that there'd be a lot of somebody wouldn't be able to speak the long term.
Well, there's the one name escapes me, but he's out there every morning,
Mhm.
most of the afternoon.
Chris Overhauser.
Yes.
Yeah.
We probably have.
We could even maybe just do a verbal check, but only DPE has people out there.
Right. Would that be too intrusive to ask the parent, hey, you're dropping off? Is there any reason? I don't know.
I don't think they want to take that time.
Time for that.
Yeah. Right. Right. I don't know.
Can't go. Got 3 more schools.
So, because this is, I see a spiral. So now the kid, so they're, if we're able to get them back on the bus and there's more buses, then the routes could get shortened, right? Right? Because then you,
If you have the drivers, I mean.
right, the driver was,
That's where the bottom line is as well. I mean, like I was gonna ask if I can keep on addressing a few other things.
Mhm.
Because ridership is what I'm supposed to be covering right now, but there's just a few things that I would like to talk about in the transportation world, I guess, if you will. I guess, the bond, I need to address the bond a little bit. I want to thank most of you for supporting us and in our search for a new transportation department. I was very saddened. I can't even tell you how sad I was. I do know that a new ball field within our complex and different things would be amazing. But just like after it failed, we went up north to a meeting, Alexa and myself, for a weather thing, and just seeing how their community supported them on a new transportation building. It was very nice. You go to the south, you see Meade and their transportation department. And then our first snow, we have a safety meeting and I have water everywhere. And I'm just like, I am so damn happy that this is our meeting spot right here where all the buses are wet. They're working on them and everything else. And yet I'm trying to conduct business with my people. And it just makes me so sad that the community could rally behind this. Alexa showed us some videos. I mean, when they were online, she could just show them to us or me or whatever, about graduates from Deer Park doing amazing things in Deer Park and different things. It would have been amazing, 2 graduates of Deer Park, to be able to design our transportation because it's heart. We have heart in what we do. I don't know if I'm going to be there. As soon as that drops off, it's not going to get back on there, onto the ballot. And so I can kiss that probably goodbye because after 33 years, I don't know how much longer I have in me to be in transportation. And I mean, I can't speak for Stacy, what her endeavors are after a few more years. I just know that we can joke about cleaning our dishes in the boys' bathroom with a urinal right behind us, and I think it's really funny. Anymore, it just hurts my heart. It kills me. It really kills me. So the buses, we care for the buses. I mean, I've been on podium saying this lot needs to be fixed. People talk about the county road. Oh, call the county, they'll get it fixed. Oh no, they're out of money, by the way. I called, they won't patch it, they won't do anything. So for me to get all this, good luck, that's never gonna happen. Because they're out of money. I don't know what they're fixing.
So just
so-
for you, Carrie,
Huh?
we're not done trying to get what we need. Okay, we're gonna have a facilities committee meeting next week to discuss maybe a different plan to keep moving forward. Because we know that needs to be there and.
Right.
we're trying.
It just breaks my heart that people can't see that. And it's to take care of the buses. It's to do a lot of things, you know. So anyhow,
Well, Carrie, I'm going to tell you from me that I saw the transportation as being the number one construction over the elementary school. So that's where I stand. You would come first in a series of getting things completed until the
yes,
elementary
but
school.
everybody has to vote yes.
Right. But that is my view personally of what we should be doing. Because there's an out game from doing it that way. So you hear that from me.
It's
That's
just
where
that
I
everybody
feel.
needs to vote yes.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. So moving forward, double routing. There was a letter that I did see, and it said that Alexa was the reason why double routing was going to be going forward, and that she wasn't doing anything about not going to double routing. That is as far from the truth. She keeps on asking the why. She did a committee. Why? How can we not do this? She does not want to do it. It's called the lack of drivers. That's the bottom line. When you don't have humans in seats to drive those buses, that's the only thing that's going to drive it.
I drive all over Northeast Washington. I was out on the reservation yesterday, Republic, Curlew, every little town has a sign that says bus drivers wanted. It's not teachers, it's not bring your dog, it's nothing, it's bus drivers. Every, truly, Colville, Cholula, Public, Mitchell and me. So it's, yeah.
And we're one of the last districts that are still one bell time. The state, or you know, that we're still K-12. We're one of the few, and just like we rack our brains every time when we need to develop a route. How are we going to do this? Because we haven't given up any roads. We still travel every road that we can. So in Deer Park is where we're tricky, and we fly 3 buses around Deer Park trying to pick up kids and stuff like that, because that's where we get our overload is in Deer Park, and before they go out or when they come in, we get overload. That's where we drive our overloads. But we're like, okay, can we go down this road, pick up these kids, can we ask these kids to walk here? And by the way, nobody likes to walk a block. Totally offended if they need to walk a block. Uphill both ways. Yep, absolutely. And so we can't be any more creative than what we're being. And then if I was talking to a driver the other side. Oh, what do you think about next year? Are you coming back? What do you think? Well, I could meet a really nice lady. I don't know. So you don't get any answers from them either. And so that last minute, that planning, how we're going to keep from it, or how we're going to go forward, how we're going to educate the community. I don't know, because I can't get answers. You know, you ask bus 16, who's, how old is Wayne?
I don't know, but we've got a lot of aging, we've got a handful of aging drivers that are pushing 80.
But
75.
But if I have my health, I'll be back next year.
Yeah.
What if his health goes down? That's the part that is hard. I mean, and you can't ask them this. Hey, can you quit? I mean, you can't do that. I mean, this is what they live for, truly.
And then you have another sheet to fill.
And then we have a piece of fill. Yep, absolutely. So double shifting, I don't know where that's at. All I know is farthest from the truth about left to pushing it.
Thank you for that. Well, I just want to say, like, I'm constantly in the mix of the drop off, going to the high school and then back down to the middle school. So I'm passing a lot of buses. I'm seeing a lot of buses pull in and out, and the courteousness of our bus drivers, the friendliness of our bus drivers, waving hi, like at the 4-way stops. It can get complex and intense and stressful for everybody, but they never make it worse. Like, they make it better. So just a compliment for your team. As long as they stay, they're all doing a very good job, and I'm very proud as I'm in the mix there and
Oh, I
watching.
appreciate that,
Yeah.
because they could say some.
Oh, I'm sure behind the scenes it's different, but.
Wasn't letting them out, and they were dogging them so they couldn't get through. Yeah, so, about the double routing and how we're gonna solve that, I don't know. Because like I said, I can't walk up to them and say, hey, why don't you retire?
But you're gonna make the recommendation to us what we should do. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's hard because we know that it's a year-long process to have that conversation. But the conundrum is we don't know who's coming back until May, June, July, and then we're scrambling to try to find bus drivers. We were trying to get ahead of the conversation and prepare folks for the conversation, and right, wrong, or indifferent, at least we're planting the seed and having the conversation. But I have to give kudos to Carrie and Stacy. I don't know how many times you guys redid those routes, because I begged, please not double routing this year, please not double routing this year. And it's why kids are on the bus for so long, in part. It's why you see 5 buses in the exact same general area circling, because I rode several different buses, and it is just, I got on at the last stop and it was about a half hour, 40 minutes just to go to all the schools.
No, can't do that, Carrie.
I have that problem, but yeah, so
We
It's
still
com-
need more bus drivers, is that right? We're still short. So what can we have an incentive? I had made some recommendation on if a driver was to bring somebody in, that there'd be some bonus that they would get monthly for a year. And then whoever the new driver would get a bonus monthly as long as they stayed for a year.
So remember, all wages, working conditions, and benefits go through negotiations.
Okay, so was that a way to put that on the table?
We just
Yeah.
closed bargaining, and remember, our PSC group is paras, cooks, custodians, maintenance, mechanics, and bus drivers.
Okay.
We just finished a 3-year contract.
Bargaining is closed.
Oh, so we
So
can't touch it.
No.
So we can't add.
Right, that's the negotiations.
You could bake them cookies or something.
Right. Well, we made the idea came out early. Okay. But okay.
But if you do it for one something, you gotta do it for everything.
Right. It's all in the same union, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you gotta do it for other people because we can't. Yeah.
Okay. So is there a list that we can get our hands on of folks that are CDL drivers who are retiring? Like I met a few folks that were cement truck drivers that were retiring.
Here's the caveat to that.
Okay.
It's great to have their class A's, and they've been driving for 30 years. They don't have a passenger and school bus endorsement, so therefore they get to go back to school.
Okay.
And most of them say, why do I want to do that? I already have my class A.
What about you, Dave? You want to retire and go to work for Carrie?
So they don't want to go. They have to go back to school.
Well, the school meaning through us, it's just that they'll have to go to the third party tester and they have to do a pre-trip. I mean, somebody sitting there can tell you more about the breaks and stuff like that, but we're like saying, oh, they're evenly worn and no crease and
They have to retest, is what they have.
they don't.
And they don't want to. I mean, you can't blame them. They've been doing it for ever.
But they're not paying for it, right? Because we paid for the CDL training, correct?
We do.
So it's just a matter of them sitting in the classroom. How many hours?
Oh, it's driven by the students. If
Oh, the
they're
student.
alive or whatever, yeah.
They can self-pace.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
self-paced,
Okay.
but
And then if the normal pace is 40 hours, they,
give or take, yeah.
So I'm gonna assume you guys have done all the tricks to try and entice people to come. I've seen the signs, I've seen. So,
Right now, we
yeah.
do have, right now, currently, we are training more than we have in the last 2 years.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's good.
so that's very good, absolutely.
okay.
Good. Nice job.
If we can find people that already have their Class B and endorsements, that would be even better.
I'm not familiar with that term, man.
Those are bus drivers.
Okay, they already had a school bus driver before.
Class A is multi-axle, whatever, B is bus driver.
Straight after, yeah.
Yeah, and having done dispatch a couple of mornings, I have to give it to you guys because parents are always not bright and cheerful and smiley when they call you. And they handle it with grace, patience, outstanding service, and do whatever they can to make sure our students are served. And I will share with you, I think that these two go above and beyond for service more than anybody else I can think of. So thank you.
Appreciate you.
I know how old you two are. The same age. So I know you have a while till retirement. So thank you. I know where you both live. Basically, I went to kindergarten. I told you, I went to kindergarten through 12th grade together. Thank you for everything. Yeah. Thank you for everything you guys do to keep our kids coming to school and getting them here safely and everything. The community appreciates you very much. I mean, when I talk to people, it's never, I hate the bus driver. It's always something else, but thank you so much. Please give that from us. We don't get a chance to interact with all your bus drivers. They probably don't want to hear from us or come here. So thank you. Tell them thank you.
And we've seen Alexa more than any superintendent she knows more about the bus garage than any of them.
Cool.
Thank you.
Like to get out there. I appreciate you.
Thanks for coming, David. Bringing me home.
You know, they get our kids to school every day and home every day.
Yeah.
The first faces that our kids see and the last faces that our kids see. And Carrie and Stacy have this motto that even if you get back from a trip at 2 a.m., you're going to come to school with a smile on your face. And by the way, you guys have a new security system, right? So that's in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're going to talk about the conference in a little bit as a part of the board discussion. I had a great conference. Just on the personal note, I took so much out of it. I was inspired. Had some new things, had some ideas for us to continue to move forward together on behalf of students. Panorama survey update, that will be closing on Wednesday. Right now we have it says 1,200 and 1,100 students who have completed it, and it says 74 to 70%. That's because there were two different surveys that were put together. One was competency and well-being, and one was student supports and environment. And I have a hunch some of the maybe kids didn't get to the second part of the survey, so there's why that discrepancy for kids. But remember, we did not survey HomeLink students, so those numbers end up about right if we look at the total number of students in school. And we didn't do DPE because they're too young, K2s. For staff, we have about 226 last time I checked that completed it. And parents, because we put the QR code up for conferences, that went from 344 as of about 4 o'clock this afternoon. And when I last checked, we're at 351. So we're going up on the parents, but I will say, not as big of a turnout from our parents as I would have anticipated and hoped. Eric, you mentioned that we've got facilities advisory committee scheduled for next Monday evening here at 6 o'clock. I did change it to like a webinar so anybody can get on. It's on the website, on the calendar, so people can webinar in and listen to the conversation. The overall scope of the conversation will really include just kind of the bond history, where we're at, include the historical conversation that the Facilities Advisory Committee has had in terms of capital projects, analyzing and looking at the growth, looking at the outlined costs of each of the projects, looking at the implications between bond, the tax rates, capital levies, all of those pieces. We have Corey Plager coming in from DA Davidson, who is our resident expert. Brendan will be there as well. We've already started having some of those conversations. What if? What could this look like? So the Facilities Advisory Committee, their charge is to take all of that information, knowing what's coming up, looking what's happened in the past, and begin working on some potential options to bring back to the board. And I hopefully will have some information to share with you in the December board meeting. One of the topics that continues to come up at each of the conferences around the idea of student voice. And one thing that Troy started doing this year is once a month, he has a student from all of the different clubs represented that he gets together. I think it's the first Wednesday of every month, and he has a different topic of conversation that he talks to the kids about. And so I've been at 2 of the 3. I missed the first one in September, but October was revisiting the cell phone policy. And I think I shared with you that went really well, very positively. This one was around student safety, both physical safety and emotional safety. And I have to tell you that 100% of the students, when they went around the table, felt safe at Deer Park High School. They were able to talk about the various protocols, hold, a secure lockdown. Those are the protocols that we follow. They're like, do you have to do so many? Well, yeah, they're mandated by the state. So, but they feel really safe. They feel really good about the school and feel like their friends are very healthy and doing well as well. So I thought that was a very positive conversation that the students had with Troy. If you're interested in joining, I'm sure he wouldn't mind if you wanted to come in and listen to the students and hear the student voice. That's been part of my reservation, creating my own student voice group, because Troy already has one that's representative of the student community. And then Tim runs the voices class, which is student voice at the middle school. So I just try to join in the groups that have already been created and listen to the students in those ways.
So I have a question. So at WASDA, we just got done going to our yearly conference where we're learning activities for us. And there's always been a bunch, and there continues to be more and more and more students that are coming. And I know several of you guys have expressed an interest, and I have argued against that over time. But I think we're at a place in time where we should look at different aspects of that. And maybe for the next year, so we're partway through our year now. And the reason I've been against it is just, how do we choose that kid? Is it always going to be the same ones, the Deer Park High School president, whatever?
You're talking about the student board.
Yeah, student board reps. So it was just interesting to hear a lot of the things that were going on this weekend and how they do. They don't have a vote, but they have a
Voice.
Seat at the table.
Yeah, seat at the table to bring different perspectives. And I think we're getting large enough. We have our high schools continues to grow a little bit all the time. We're at a point where we can look at that. Maybe we should. So I will.
Something to
I
consider.
think that should be a board discussion in the spring, moving forward. Thank you for bringing that up.
Sure. I think that's about all I have, unless there's anything else that you wanted me to discuss.
Okay, so that's the end of your.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. So, consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to read the consent agenda items? We have some travel, some policies for second read. Alexa made the change that was asked for. Whichever one it was.
The sexual.
Sex ed, thank you.
Yep.
And then everything. So has everybody had a chance to read things?
I'll be honest, I just was skimming through the stuff that we got today from camp. So
It's the
in
travel.
regards to the travel, that's why my head was down. So just a small comment on the girls' Pathco, best of the West, just check the math on that, please. That's all.
Well, I looked at that and also I didn't see the travel expense. So we had hotel expenses and registrations, but none of them had transportation costs.
Or. Yeah, I think that would be.
None on a one.
Where. I
So
think
is that the new form that we asked, so that everybody's using the new form? And it might not have all those things on there.
So here's an example for it.
Yep, no, I saw it. I looked at all of them.
I think what possibly could be happening, that would be something to clarify.
Oh, gotcha.
That doesn't make sense to me.
The club is paying for some of that out of the different Ironman. That was my assumption.
So
You're talking about the Pasco one?
There's
Well,
all,
all of-
everyone.
So they did mark zero. So I mean, they didn't leave it blank. They
Correct.
intentionally put zero.
Are you talking about the Pasco where the Booster Club is helping? So I'm assuming
That's
Booster
what I'm-
Club is helping with the 800 and the cost per student is 200.
Zero, transportation,
so-
zero.
How do you get in there?
What they're providing is just the hotel and the registration. There's no
There's a-
clarification on transportation throughout these.
So that,
Because there's 5 kids, they're going on their own.
but there's another one that's got 15.
Mm.
And so there are boys wrestling
The
and
parents are
girls
probably driving them.
wrestling mixed in with this.
At that point, why are we paying for their hotels if their parents are going?
Because they're representing the school.
And how many kids are there per hotel?
It-
So there's just some things to clarify. I think that would be helpful. And not against them going by any means. They look great. It's for our program. It's USB.
So
And I also had questions on the math on the table. When it talks about Booster Club, and then the cost per student is 115, and it's the same as the Booster Club. So I don't get how that math works.
Yeah.
If the booster's covering it, there's no cost to the student, right?
cost per student or
Well,
cost?
cost per student is 115, but
Yeah, total
That just-
cost, 115.
so the
Booster
booster.
Club is paying $115.
Okay, so they're paying the whole thing.
So when we talk about these things, we should be looking through them and making sure they're all correct. But in the end, we're just saying that it's okay for them to go. It's not, it's up to the buildings and and Brendan to make sure, correct me if I'm wrong, to make sure that all the monies work out and everything. So we could actually take this form and dumb it down to, I want to go to wherever that is. And
It could
do
just be
that?
the first page.
No, I'm just asking, is that
We
a
could.
thing?
We need a new form, I guess.
Yeah, I
Well,
would
this
agree.
one is newer.
And probably some instructions that go down on the bottom as to what the fields are.
But if it's done within the school and the ASB and all the thing, we're just saying, we understand that these kids are going to out of the area. And we don't. Yeah, because it's never going to be the same per kid. It's never going to be anything. So maybe we could ask for Cam to come up with a form that just gives us what we need to know, not dollars and cents and all the stuff, because we're not accountants and we're not going to make sure that that goes right.
Well,
So
I
do you
think
just
it's
want the
important to
first
see in the-
page? Is
I
the
don't
trip,
know.
the dates of the trips and the number of the chaperones and the number of the kids? Is it-
It's more conversation that we don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to have tonight. I just was bringing forth this, I was being honest, that I didn't get a chance to look at, I was trying. But like even approvals, it's not marked on which one is it. It's ASB, it's the principal, the school board, is the superintendent. So it's just one of those things I think we just encourage them to update their. Maybe we
So my question is then,
all
can
in,
we not agree with this? We've had this discussion for a long time. Cam knows that they need to be filled out correctly and turned in ahead of time. I don't know when the dates are for, I guess.
since December and January.
right on.
Yep. So anything before our December 9th meeting?
There's one on the 21st. There's another one in January.
But not, we have a meeting on December 9th. What I'm asking is,
You're making sure there's a meeting before the next.
before they want to go.
Hard part about that, Eric, is that they come to me to register now. So I think
Oh,
what happens
yeah.
is they just started their season.
Mhm.
They figure out who wants to do it. They
Mhm.
get it to us right away.
Yeah.
We got it. It was just a matter, I'm okay with them going. I
am too.
Just was making a comment.
I am too, because the costs are relatively low, but I think that we should be accounting for the transportation costs so that it's the bookkeeping, because we see others like this and there's no way to apples to apples.
Yep. Well,
But the biggest concern, transportation costs, that you want to make sure that they're in here. I guess I need to make
Yeah,
sure
right.
I'm relaying what your wants are moving forward.
Yeah. 0, and there should be an explanation, parents are driving or bus is being paid for by another entity. I don't know.
So I guess what I'm asking is, can we ask Cam to look at the form? Just to meet what we need. And like I said, our goal is to know that kids are going out of the district. How it is paid for is up to the school and Brendan. And all that stuff, so that we can look, and I think we can continue to talk about it, but I think the form could stand some maybe updating of exactly what we need to do to be legal.
And I think keeping the cost in there allows us to have a litmus test across all the different activities in the school. So I think it's kind of a good thing to keep that in there, but simplify would be probably better. And probably some notes in there to explain what the fields are and how to be filled out.
Well,
So
I think, yeah, I agree. I think, but all of them come through Cam. And he should know. I mean, we hammered on this thing about 6 months or something like that.
a couple times. Yep.
So,
The feedback that I gave was to completely fill out the form because sometimes you guys were giving blank forms. That's the
Oh,
feedback I got. I told him to make sure that they're completely filled out before they come to the board.
So to be honest with that, I would say travel request form isn't filled out all the way.
Vincent,
Not based off of.
It's 0. How they getting there? Right.
So again, Eric,
but if the cost
feel
is
as though generally speaking, I am a yes on the travel.
okay,
I need to be clear as to what feedback I'm giving back, Cam, because I'm not clear right now.
Do you think we should, I mean, because this is a reoccurring topic that comes up, typically not in a work session. Do you think this is a work session conversation?
sure.
I agree.
And that way we can pinpoint what we're asking, make it very clear.
So, but we do not have a work session in December. We do not have we have a work session in January, but it is full. And so we're pushing this out April, May.
Well, remember they're
Maybe
coming in
not.
January to talk about the athletics and grades
Oh,
already.
Eric,
Well, it sounds like we're all saying yes. We're not going to keep them from going.
Right.
But just for future,
okay. So with that, I need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Oh, so I had some comments on, so the agenda, it has the minutes in it, the human resources report, the policies for second read, travel with students. So we covered the travel with students. The policies for second read, we're really going to go through some edits that I have. Or others, or is it going to come back for additional review?
We had a chance to bring in edits last time.
And I presented them, but they didn't get incorporated. I gave feedback. So let me go back to my feedback. Let's see here. So the complaints, however, depending on, so that the last paragraph, any concerns or complaints shared with the board or individual board members will be referred to the superintendent who will determine the best way to handle them. However, depending on the concern or the complaint, the board may need to get involved. Thus, when appropriate, the board may receive concerns or complaints to take appropriate action. So I had suggested that we have to have a means of tracking. So if somebody brings something to the board, it's not necessarily just kicked back down to Alexa. They'll take care of it. The board will need to have a means to track the issue and to follow up with a letter to the persons with the complaint after discussion with all the board members. So when somebody comes to the board and has a complaint, and you say, okay, can we kick it back down to Alexa? We still owe an answer back to the complaint from the school board because they took the time to come here and talk to us. So we still have to have some feedback loop where we get an answer from the administrator and either us, say as a board, since we're all heard the complaint, that we as the board need to come back with a letter to the complaint and say, we kicked it back down to the administrator, the principal, wherever it needed to be worked. And we have understand that you've gotten an answer. We have reviewed that and there's some, it's closed. We're looking at it, however, so that to me is the complaints. So till it's still open. So when we're talking about the observation, I didn't see anything on here with federal. So these were all state, Veterans Day, Constitution Day, Temperance. So, and these are all the references are to RCWs, but we have Martin Luther King Day. Is that not a national federal holiday that we observe?
Well, what I can say is the only change that was made between the last policy and this policy is that the teacher will do a temperance, Good Citizens Temperance Day. That's the only change that was recommended.
Okay.
Oh, the rest of it's all the same. It just added that the teacher has a
These are all days,
responsibility.
those are days we get off. MLK Day is a day off. These are days that are taught in school.
Okay.
Assemblies for.
Oh, God. Okay.
So that's
the
not
apples
here.
and oranges.
Apples and oranges.
Okay. We're good there. We talked last time about the comprehensive school counseling program. And this is where about in the middle paragraph talks about school counselors and ESA staff implementing the comprehensive school counseling program will spend no less than 8% of their contracted time on directed and indirect supports to the students with no more than 20% of their contracted time on projects or program planning and school support activities. What I brought up last time was how do we measure that? How do we call that out? So
I told you they're tracking them.
There's a tracking. So can we add that language in here that there's a tracking mechanism that's covered in procedure X?
Show that.
Yes.
In regards to both that one and the first one that you talked about with policies, but then we have procedures. So I'm curious if those.
The policies just to explain the what, the procedures or the how.
Exactly. So there's potentially a procedure that would say the how of what Jerry's asking for.
Right. Not
Yes,
just,
and a practice. And
so I want to make sure that we're conforming to the 80%. So you said their procedure, and I think I would like to have that in this procedure is covered in X whatever. So that we have a
That's it.
reference.
That would be the procedure, not the policy.
Right, but this would say this is covered in procedure XXX. It doesn't have to be spelled out how to do it. It's just saying it's being,
But then
because my question is, how is that measured?
they,
I have no way to know.
they
that.
self-report and then we have to report it to the state. It's a mandatory. It's a law.
Okay, well, then we write that in here.
Okay.
That it has to be reported to the state.
but it,
And it's.
We can say as required by the state.
You can say 8%, 20% all day, and then there's no measurement. There's no enforcement. So if it's enforced, then we just say it's enforced by X.
Okay.
That's where I was at on that.
Can I have both of those that you actually have written?
Yes.
So I need to make sure that you know which ones aren't going through and then which ones are going through. Right? Are there any that are passing through that we can,
The one that I misread, the fired officer,
what number is that?
that was,
2336.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
We need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'm still reviewing,
Oh, sorry.
still reviewing, sorry. Do you want to make
Well, I'll
copies
wait
of
till you
those?
have them all
Okay.
together.
Okay. And then there's electronic resources and internet safety. So I wanted to add in a annual review of the security protocols, AI, et cetera, and maybe an annual review. So things are changing. AI is changing. I think we need to have a review of this policy probably every year in terms of the security protocols AI.
So every
Because-
year, the WASDA and the state look at all these policies, and this policy I'm willing to bet is the same in every other school in the state. So when it's time for a change, we get sent a thing from policy committee and or legislature, whatever, you need to change this. This is what you need to add. So what happens if we put that in there and for some reason it doesn't happen? We're immediately.
Well, yeah, I agree. Is there
Whose job
another,
is it
like
gonna
a
be?
trigger, maybe is it our director for the IT department could give us, he gives us an annual review, right? Part of his annual review, he will then include any changes, current protocols, AI and such that we need to be aware of. How's that? So if we added a line,
If you can write that in there, that would be great.
okay, it's in there.
Okay.
Okay, so that works.
But that would be more procedures and policy. Again,
Only that it triggers, and you can add that in that, add that as a procedure then as a part of the annual review.
Yeah,
That way it's triggered
I need
that
the
we-
policies done before we can get to the procedures because
Right, but
we need to update the
this is gonna-
procedures too.
Basically a trigger so that we get updated.
Just a point of order. So if we motion to pass the consent agenda without change, then we don't move forward with any changes, correct?
yes.
Okay.
So right now, we're just talking about them. So there hasn't been a motion
No direction.
or direction or anything to do it. We, last time, we had first reading, we were all supposed to bring our changes last time and present them. And the only one we got was one from somebody.
Lindsay.
No, I
agree.
presented these,
No.
a couple of these I did, yes. I brought them up. And then on the sexual health, I like the change that Lindsay had rewritten. So that. Good. So let's see here. If we go back, I want to thank Brendan for continuing to do that report for us. Did you have some questions? The district-wide P card, refresh my memory, that's the DPSD EMO.
Yep.
Was,
So there's a handful of them that have like a district credit card, and it's called like purchasing card.
Okay.
It's called a P card. Those are just
okay,
like to be from principals to
Yeah.
ASB.
it's like supplies and such.
Yep.
Okay. We had a stripping robot for the fields for striping
That's true.
for 40,000. Did we approve that as a board?
We did not approve that as a board, but we were informed that facilities were buying it, why they were buying it.
And they got a big discount.
Okay.
But there was another group that Steve was looking at that I think Mead uses. And it was, I think, 15 or 20 grand more than what this one was. And so he had this group come out and they did a self-test, let Steve and his group.
Yeah, I remember them talking about it was going to be actually cheaper to do this than to try to do the chalk. There was, more labor.
He had a bid with two other companies, and then this one was by.
Yeah. And the custodial supplies, that is an annual cost.
That's monthly.
That's a monthly. Okay.
Is that the Walter E. Nelson?
Yes, it is. Okay, thank you.
So again,
I moved to approve.
Oh, I have comments on the minutes.
hold on, we have a motion on the floor. So it's been motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'm still in discussion.
We're not in discussion yet because we haven't had, now we can discuss, we have a motion on the floor.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was trying to get to before.
Okay.
So, okay, we've had some discussion already. What's your discussion?
Wait,
Okay.
sir,
Yep,
as the person that made the motion, I'm the one, may I have the first person speak?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to state again, the opportunity to look at these prior to the meeting and make comments, like I contacted Brennan and asked him a question. He answered my question. And so my understanding has come in, though I did ask the questions on the travel, that was my mistake. Flush, understanding, I would say that I am in concurrence with what the district put together for us.
Okay, further discussion?
Yes. So I reviewed the minutes for 28 October. And so you said that I could bring them up if I find errors and things that didn't make sense to me. So I'm looking at Megan Ware's and Gretchen Ware's and James Ware's comments, and I'm reading their comment. WIA transgender athlete participation. What did that person actually say? I have no idea that WIA rules in regards to gender identity. We do not know what that person said.
Point of
Or you-
order, we've already gone over this and have said
No.
this is what we're doing in our minutes.
You said the format.
Those are, that is what they discussed.
So overall, and I found many of these, is our minutes are incomprehensible.
Okay,
Incomplete
I'm gonna stop.
and bad
No.
grammar.
No, I'm gonna stop.
We have,
Let's stop.
no, I have a right to
Because
speak.
no, not
Freedom of
if
speech,
it's the way
I am
the,
voted on this, Mary.
Order.
We voted.
You voted on the format.
yes,
I was told I could bring up points of order on content and errors
that
in
is
the
the
minutes.
correct comment. that
I'm reading
Megan talked
incomplete
about.
sentences,
Those are bullet points, not complete sentences.
but you have no idea what that person said. You have
That
no
was
idea
what
what
they
this means.
discussed.
I am a civilian looking at this and I have no
And
idea.
if they choose to look at, that is to notify them as to what it is they discussed.
Okay, so
On this point of order. The public comments, when it says, what are you speaking on? I print what the person writes. I'm not making a complete sentence. I'm not assuming what they're going to talk about. They write it. I document it. And that's it.
but it does not
But
reflect
it does,
what the person said during the actual meeting.
short of having a complete transcript.
Okay, so I disapprove of the minutes as written because they are, as I said
You
before,
disagree with them.
incomprehensible, incomplete, and bad grammar.
Okay. Thank you. I have a motion on the floor for approval of the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, let's show that Mr. Director Ashby is opposed to it. Okay, next we have board discussion. One of the things we talked, it's on the agenda. There's multiple things we would like to talk about, but the thing on the agenda is the transgender Title IX WIA transgender thing. So we listened to Megan and her family as well as others on the thing. We chose kind of so far, anyhow, it's not 100% yet, to not go with a resolution. Thank you. Okay. We chose to write letters to WIA, our legislators, and the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. I'd like to read the one for the WIAA, and the other ones are similar, but structured to send to representatives and OSDI. So our dear members of the WIA Executive Board, the Deer Park School Board Directors urges the WIA to protect female athletes. As a school board, we're gravely concerned about the safety of female athletes. We're writing to express our thoughts and recommendations regarding the proposed amendments to WIA Policy 1816.0, gender identity participation submitted by 2 Washington State school districts. That would be Linden and Eastmont. Our board is firmly committed to ensuring all students have the opportunity to participate in WIA athletics, regardless of their gender identity, expression, or sex. We believe in fostering inclusive environments that encourage participation and a sense of belonging for every student. At the same time, we also recognize the critical importance of maintaining fairness in competition and protecting the rights and opportunities of female athletes. We've reviewed the proposed amendments and strongly recommend that WIA consider their merits. If the amendments as written do not meet WIA criteria, we urge WIA to explore creative solutions to merge these recommendations in a way that ensures participation is both equitable and safe for all athletes. We acknowledge any amendments must align and comply with law the state law, we also believe it's entirely possible to achieve a solution that honors the dignity and sport rights of all students while preserving the integrity of athletics and competition for girls' sports. We appreciate the complexity of this issue and thoughtful consideration it requires. Thank you for your leadership in navigating this sensitive and important matter. If WIA finds it helpful, our district will be willing to collaborate or provide input to these policies further evaluated. Thank you for your continued support. And it's from us. It's a resolution. If we were to adopt a resolution, first of all, we have to be extremely careful about what it could put the district into liability. And it really doesn't go any further than saying we support our female athletes. This says that we do, and we will continue to ask WIA through our representative on their board, Cam, and when we have our board WASDA representative is Michael something from Spokane Public Schools. So we will talk to him and make sure that he understands that we support this, changing it to protect our female athletes, because it's not there. So the second one is also to dear representative, we share our thoughts regarding this thing, and truthfully, they're the ones that can change things. We cannot change it here, although I wish we could. We can support WIA changing it and moving forward with that, and we can watch it. And when we get a chance to sit with our legislators at different times through the year, with Alexa next week, she's going to have a chance at the superintendent's legislative day to meet with our legislators and maybe even the new ones we're getting, Andrew and Hunter, I think, and give them copies of this letter, because that says to us, we're moving forward. We're trying to make a change. All of this could be moot point if you've watched any of the legislative at the federal level, which our newly elected president has said he's going to change things, and protect Title IX was how he put it. So that could be a moot point, but rather than write a resolution and not basically have it go anywhere except for to the people saying we support you, I thought, this was a better way to go, and talking with our legal counsel, we have to be very careful about the line we walk as a board, because if we move forward with something that goes against somebody illegally or however you want to look at it, we become personally liable at that point. So we all took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of Washington. Unfortunately, at this time, it's not the way we like it, or at least the way I would like it. I can't speak for everybody up here, but this was a way to support our girls and still make a difference. So I would like to send these letters. If there's folks that have things, but this is our chance to comment on them.
So, yeah, Eric, so I provided my notes yesterday to Alexa and you to review, but my quality was lacking. And so I want to hand these in today. I am 100% in support of moving forward with these 3 letters. Just a few things like at the very beginning where we say, as a school board, we are greatly concerned about the safety and equitable rights of female athletes, but just a couple of things of indicating that equitable rights again through there. And sorry, I should move on, but maybe underline some things. There's another one where we state what the name of the RCW is instead of just calling out the actual RCW. But I am fully in support of these, and I'll turn in my comments, and Lindsay got a chance to skim them, but I can have them down the table before they go to you and Alexa if you'd like.
Okay.
I would like to also encourage maybe we state the 2 names of the districts, or state that the days the letters were turned in. something so it's clear the direction that we're going.
Submitted by Eastmont and Linden.
Aren't there more than those two then? So do we?
I don't think there's more. Are there more than that? Proposed amendments?
Not to WIAA. Those are the two. There were other districts that signed on to those amendments.
Oh, we
Yes.
signed on.
Yes. they
Those are
signed
the
on
only
to
two
those
amendments that
amendments.
are.
Yes, I would, okay, but we list that as well, so it's clear.
And there are pending litigations as well.
Yeah.
They're making their way through the court.
I know for a fact that the Lakeside School Board is meeting tomorrow to discuss this very thing. And Central Valley just passed it last week.
It is.
One comment I had that kind of stood out from the start is, I think if our opening line is to protect all athletes. And then you can go in and they're talking about the female athletes thereafter, but really we're about protecting all of our athletes, no matter who they are.
Mhm.
Okay, and so I think that should set the stage of how we open up. Okay.
I disagree with that. I asked her to put female athletes at the top based on the recommendations of the people that came and spoke at the thing. And we get into committing that all students have the opportunity, whatever, but basically we're writing this to protect female athletes. We're not writing this letter to protect all.
And we talk about the female athletes in there, but as a board, we protect all our students, all our athletes. This is it just kicks off the letter saying we're protecting all of our athletes. And in particular, we're concerned about our female athletes.
Well, the issue is the unfairness from, especially with Title IX, with competition. On Thursday at WASDA, we went to the law conference where they talked about this very thing. In fact, he specifically brought up how it's one way, but not the other. And so that's the point of contention. There is no point of contention the other direction. So it shows that we're being intentional to protect our female athletes, which is where the point of contention is.
Yep. So again, I see that and I agree that we protect all athletes. We're writing this letter to protect female athletes, not to protect the rest of them. Because it says right in here, our board is firmly committed to ensuring all students have opportunity and everything. But right now, what I'm worried about is female athletes.
Mhm.
So,
Most guys aren't worried about a woman beating them.
yep. So I want to disagree with that because that was the intention of the letter, is to be brought back into female athletes for protection. But
Did we ever see the letters from OSPI to Meade and the other schools? I haven't seen a copy of those. I'd like to see what the response.
They should have been in your Friday update from several weeks ago.
Is it in
They
there?
were.
Okay, I missed it. Okay.
It was following a board meeting.
And actually, they brought up,
Friday
if you
update,
read
right?
some of the packets that were presented, there were copies of those letters in there.
Okay.
The other thing that I think you mentioned this weekend is that you ran this by the attorney. And he was very pleased with how they were written and verified that we are in line with our job
Mhm.
here as the board.
We probably shouldn't change much of the language, I'm assuming.
Megan,
So I just am curious, once these letters are finalized, are they gonna be made available for the students?
whomever, yeah.
Okay.
Public record.
Well, without having to go through public record, are they gonna be like a clickable link on the website saying we've submitted these or?
Yeah.
You can do that. Yeah, absolutely. And
I think it would go a long way to show to our female students that, yes, you are supporting them. And I think that,
we're trying our best, the way we have to do it,
right.
to project what we would like to see. And it might, I've heard some different comments about, oh, it's not enough or whatever. But again, we can only change what we can change locally. Unfortunately, it's a federal law or federal edict. And if it's turned around after January 17th, then we'll have another 6 or 8 or 8 months or whatever for it to go through whatever it needs to go through. But hopefully it gets changed and Title IX is truly enforced. So
I just think I appreciate the letter. I think it's wonderful and I think it shows solidarity towards our girls. and shows that you do value
Yes.
this whole situation.
We also have to be careful on the other end of things as well, because we're here for all students, to provide a place for all students, so that we don't, because also in the letters, we have to be very careful about not creating what's called a chilling effect towards somebody else, so that's why it's very important we go to the lawyers about that. And also, as we're sharing things on Facebook or wherever else, that we're mindful of all students.
And the lawyer, one of the comments is, I can't help you break the law, which is where we could be in putting the district in liability state if we go down different avenues.
And that's the comment that I made when you brought forward your commentary. A couple boards members, do you remember that? You remember bringing it? Do you remember my comments?
Making comment at the time.
I did. My comments were, I'm not gonna back anything that breaks the law.
Yep.
And
Well,
I think that we ought to be pursuing anything other means like judicial system, if the judicial system, if the law is.
I believe I asked you to well.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You brought it forward, but I was trying to bring forth that we can't just do resolutions and call it done. There are other means to.
So the letters come forth and we can present them. And one of them goes to OSPI, basically saying that on behalf of the school district board of directors, we're writing to address concerns regarding the 28A6, the mandatory language OSPI provided for inclusion in school handbooks, which caused lots of consternation and has not changed anything. It's been there for the last 10 years.
15 years.
Yeah. So anyhow, while we're deeply committed to fostering safe, inclusive, and welcoming environment for all students and families, we believe the approach of making us put this in the thing has caused unnecessary challenges for our community and our district. We've had folks come to our board and complain about it. We've had everything. The law has not changed. OSPI just made it mandatory that we put that in every handbook, not just HomeLink or high school or anything. So those are things that are in there, and it addresses things a little differently than the one going to WIA. So, what I would like to have is these done by the 9th. So if we want to make more comments on that, like I said, I disagree with Jerry's comment about taking the protect female athletes, because was the intent of the letter.
You didn't see me. I didn't say take it out. The emphasis is that we protect all athletes at the stage. Okay.
Yep.
Would you be willing to just pass my little notes
Yep.
down to the gentleman and then they can make sure they agree?
Yep. So
That'd be great. Thank you.
Do we have this electronically?
I do.
Can you send it to us?
Yes.
we need to have these back. If you're going to make comments on this, on the letters as they're written, except for if you've already given them in, by Friday.
Jerry, do you want to give me yours? This is most helpful to me if I have something tangible so I can go in and make edits.
I don't have, I just got this today.
Right.
At this meeting.
Okay. Well, if you don't give it to me, I won't be able to go in and make the edits, and that's okay if you can get them back to me, but I just, by this Friday?
Yep, digitally emailed by Friday.
Okay. So if I can get a electronic
So I
copy.
realize Friday is Black Friday if you're going to be shopping, but we need to have time to circulate them a couple more times to get.
I'll send all three of them to you tonight.
And we will make the corrections and put it on the agenda again for the December 9th meeting for approval.
The only challenge is unless there's some that have really specific feedback, I am meeting with the legislators December 4th.
Yeah, shoot, that's it.
And I would like to be able to have at least the letters to the legislators by December 4th. Now, WIA will not be going through their amendments, I think, until March, April. So we have time for them and we have time for OSPI, but I feel a little bit of a sense of urgency for the legislators.
Mr. Eric, what are your thoughts on sharing it as a Google Doc? And then we can update our comments right in Google Doc and then we would all agree.
I think we need to check that with OPMA.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Thank you.
Thank
you. So I like the letters the way they're written. I helped write them. So if can we take 5 minutes, go through the one for the representatives and get that one done now? And that way Alexa will, yes, oh, sorry.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, you guys get up early. Thanks, Stacey.
See you guys, thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go through the representative letter. Yep, the first one on your list. So if everybody takes a couple minutes, read it, and then we'll hack through this, we can get it accomplished so that we can get it
Mm-mm.
signed, I'll sign
I
up.
gave my extra one away at the conference to another
So
superintendent.
let's take in 3 minutes to read through it and make changes if you want.
Maybe Eric can give you his. Can he have your copy?
Yeah. Go, bud. Sorry. Oh, sorry, Brendan. We forgot Brendan again.
We're not, he'll come back.
The board update or the superintendent update. We need to put Brendan on there.
Has a moment.
I know. My bad.
In fact, you're just speaking up.
Sorry.
Three easy ones and one question.
Craig's in. Do you have any items for? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we had a chance to read it. Okay, so Brett, questions, comments?
Very simple. I recommend putting the address that you're sending it to on top for the typical format of a letter, the date, and then also after the RCW 28A642.081, put in parentheses, transgender student policy and procedure. So we put the name in there.
The name of the law. Yeah.
Those are the easy ones. The other one is more of a question on, are we confident that all the legislature senators are strongly believe in local control? And if not, do we emphasize more of the discrimination over the local control?
Which paragraph?
It's kind of just generally statement. It talks about local control a couple times. I wrote.
And it should be referencing a WAC or an RCW for local control. So whether they agree or disagree with it, I think there's an RCW that says,
2015 on the bottom.
They're well aware of it. Yes, they are.
I don't know that they agree with
It was
it.
just my thought yesterday morning,
Yeah.
my cough.
We can make the.
Yes, if I can get the hard copies, that would be great. And I can make those
Jerry, you have
changes.
anything?
Well, something like this is important.
Thank you.
I'd like to read it and sleep on it. So to try to make edits on the fly for seeing it for the first time, I'm uncomfortable.
What did we?
Otherwise, I'm supportive of the letter, but
Oh, you didn't go to WASDA. That's why you didn't get it. Okay.
so other than that, I'd still like to make my edits on the other letters that are going out, but the one that you're trying to send out, what, tomorrow?
No, by next, Thursday,
Thursday.
Thursday of this week?
no, next week.
So I'll have till end of this week to look at the.
That's the reason we're talking about it now, so that I don't have any problems with Rebecca's things, but we should be able to discuss it. That's why I asked if everybody read it.
Right, but like I said, this is important. I'd like to read it, sleep on it, and then make my edits through electronic form. So what I will do is I get these letters, I will go in edit mode and I will make my edits and I'll put my comments in there and then you guys can go from there.
Well, by way of reminder, I mean, these were drafted in part by legal counsel.
Mhm.
So we got to be very careful about the terms that we want to change or whatever. I mean, as far as I go, I'm trusting the legal counsel that we're getting across what we want to get across in the legalese that needs to be said.
Okay.
But without getting our district, I'm just
Right.
saying that's
And
something to take into consideration.
I agree. And I tend to think of something like this, you keep it short and sweet. So looking at it, it looks kind of lengthy. I'm not sure it needs to be that lengthy.
Well, again, just back to legal counsel. Every legal counsel document I've done in the past, usually on something like this gets sort of specific and is longer than a paragraph, is usually a page or two.
Okay, well,
Move to approve the letter.
I agree. No,
Move to approve the letter as modified
As a
From who?
from Rebecca.
Okay,
Which is just a citation of the RCW.
Okay, the other letters we can bring back and discuss if you have questions, changes, whatever, for the next meeting.
Mhm.
So I have a motion on the table to approve the letter with Rebecca's changes in it. Is there any further discussion? Right. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to abstain, only that I have not fully read
Okay,
and reflect on it in longer.
okay. So this letter with those things, the date and the adding of the actual, what the transgender student policy procedure thing right at the end of it. So if you can get those changes made, Alexa, then I'll go ahead and sign those. You can take them to your meeting with you on
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thank you.
Yep. Other questions for the other two? Please again if you can email them out to all of us again and make comments by when do you want to do it? When's a good date for you?
Well, I'm okay if you read them and bring the other two back by December 9th.
Okay. And we can make the
I'll put
dates
them
and all sign it.
Yeah.
Okay.
clarification on just also, because we're on record, the address at the top.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
I'll just take it off.
Okay. And we do support our female athletes 100%. All our athletes, we want to make sure it's fair. All right. So we have a little time left for board discussion. Oh, Brendan,
You about
I apologize. I skipped you for the enrollment update again.
Yeah, enrollment had a little dip again this month. Not as scary because I think every district's kind of going through this, and this last month it was like one or two from each building. So I don't know if people were traveling or what's kind of going on for that, but financially we're in still a good spot compared to our budget, so it was really two concerns. Our F-196, our financial statements, 23-24 school year were approved by OSPI and ESD 101. So we can finally close out that year and then move on. And that's it.
Thank you. I apologize again profusely. Just throw something next time. Okay.
cupcake.
Yeah, throw a cupcake at me. All right. So board discussion. We'd like to talk about WASDA and the things we learned there. Alexa, do you want to start us off? You had
Yeah, I learned a lot. It was really inspirational, I think, as you've talked about for a little bit and talking about and thinking about a strategic plan and where we're headed in the next 3 to 6 years, kind of that big, broad piece. We've got the vision statement, we've got a current mission statement, but I was just kind of thinking about what is our purpose in DPSD? It made me think about, is it cultivating a love for learning and making sure that the learning is relevant, that kids are curious and that we're innovative and creative? Is it that we are preparing kids for their future and they're ready after high school and beyond? Is it a place where everybody belongs and we really think about inclusion and kids in the general education setting? So what's our purpose? What do we value in DPSD? Big, broad, high level, and thinking about as we embark on the strategic planning process, how do we want students to experience DPSD? Right? What is it that we want for them to experience? Right? If our job is to prepare students for their future and not the past, what does this look like for our students? Yes, for their future. Thank you. It is our job to prepare students for their future and not the past. What does this look like? What are the key indicators of success for students? And then how are we going to know that we've been effective? Right. So then what's the board's role in planning for the future? How do we foster change? How do we want students? Same questions, right? How do we hold ourselves accountable as a team? How do we know when we've been effective? How is the board building trust among each other, with the staff, with the community? And then thinking about your legacy as a board, right? How do you want to be remembered? So I think that that's something that I think about too. How do I want to be remembered? What are our values? Is it relevance, curiosity? Is it the future? Is it innovation? Is it creativity? Is it nurturing diversity of thought, which we've talked about as a board before and it came up? And then I just had some favorite quotes. I went to one that was talking about preparing students for the future. And I guess I'll just highlight maybe this one. But there's a report, it's called Skill Up Washington. And it's a report that talks about where are the job openings going to be in 10 years. And I haven't had a chance to read the report yet, but it's really about the importance of knowing about higher education, the holistic admissions overview, the way gap, and what they wanted to really emphasize that is critical to the future success of students, no matter their trajectory or journey or where they go. They really honed in on 4 years of math and 4 years at LA. And that's higher and greater than what the Caters are. So when I'm thinking about strategic planning questions, it makes me think about what does the future look like for our students in Deer Park? How are we preparing students for their future, high school and beyond? The coursework, what's important? Course completion, subject areas, sequencing and patterns of their classes, course scheduling. What are the skills and attributes students need to be successful in their future? So things that we get to think about, and that's what we get to focus on in terms of students. And then Eric and I went to Healthy Superintendent Board Relations, and I thought that was very good time well spent. I'll just highlight those two.
Just want to say that along the healthy board thing, we have a rock star of a superintendent, and she's been great. According to what the two that were up there on the board, she's better up on the panel. She's better than the superintendent. So it's just my personal opinion.
That was very nice of you. Thank you. It was good.
Yeah.
Good time.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so I mean, as I mentioned before, I started off going to the law conference, which I thought was very insightful. And the one big takeaway I got from that is they were really trying to look through, as they said multiple times, through the crystal ball of what to anticipate in the future. They weren't shy about covering the hot topics, some of the free speech topics, transgender issues, things like that within the school districts. And the big thing that they kept stressing was be careful not to get your schools into trouble when we're seeing, coming from the federal level with the incumbent president, some of the things that he's saying about dissolving, the Department of Education on a federal level, about, bringing down certain legislation from a federal level that's going to impact every state. And so as school boards, we need to just be mindful of that, be watchful of that, kind of see how these things are changing, because nobody can really predict exactly how it's going to go. But if the incumbent president makes some of the changes he's claiming he's going to change, that's going to change some of the things that we're doing here in terms of policy and procedure. So anyway, so a lot of them were just saying, wait and see, because there's a lot of pending cases going on. But the other thing that was just really encouraging to me was one of the one of the main speakers was talking about generations and what motivates generations. I'm sure some of you want to speak to that too. Because I went home and talked to my kids about Gen Z and Gen Alpha and stuff, and those skibbity kids, and just kind of and what like
Ohio Riz.
yeah, the Riz, yeah. Just like what motivates students and how they learn and what motivated us when we were going to school and how we learn and how we act as parents. And it was just very insightful to think that, there's future generations that are learning in ways that we didn't learn in. And with the adoption, with AI coming in, that was another funny thing I shared with Alexa, is that in the last year's annual conference, they were saying, we need to be careful about AI, that, AI could be dangerous. People are going to cheat with AI. And it was a total 360 shift or 180 shift. This year, they were like, we need to learn how to embrace it. Let's learn how to unlock its potential. So just very interesting. Yeah. And the third thing was we went to a bond and levy breakout session, and they had a lot of good insight there and things that we'll take into consideration as we plan for running the next bond, hopefully to get a new transportation center, hopefully elementary or however that works. But I think we all retained some really good information there that we'll hopefully put into practice.
Right. I took 7 pages of notes. Talked a lot about AI, talked a lot about the different, generations and everything. How do we prepare them for their future, not our past? I wrote that quote down. That was awesome.
That was a good quote.
Embrace the end, spotlight our CTEs when we do it. The teacher of the year was a CTE teacher, and she was very good at that. We need a board training goal for the year. WASDA is our chance to get training every year. I mean, it's the main thing where we get to go and look at all these different things. So if we sign up for it, please make every chance to get to it. And also, we're moving forward to the ledge session. So if you signed up, Lindsay and I are going. Jerry, I believe you signed up for it. So Craig signed up for it. That's $400 to the district if we don't go. So please make everything for doing that. Center for Innovation and Education, strong strategic plan to guide forward. We've been talking about moving to the strategic planning process, and I think that we're at a point now where we need to do that. Build a plan on relationships and conversations. Review the plan each year. They talked about the different things, essential people like faith leaders, facilities, community board of directors. Those people need to be there. Interested party, the usual suspects I wrote down, as well as potential others, students, staff, caregivers, older people in our district. If we can pull some of those folks in to help us, maybe we can change some no votes out there. Marginalized families, we want to make sure that we're, like you said, we're doing what we can to help kids move forward. Get the PAC, the PTA, SPED community involved in our plan. They had this talked about the paradox of trust and safety. Trust is gained by the thimble, lost by the bucket, I always say. So moving forward, we need folks to trust us and or the organizational culture of Deer Park. Boy, like I said, I have 7 pages. So it was a great conference. There was things, Alexa and I went to the board chair superintendent relationships. The 2 that were there were from Pasco, yeah. And they've gone through lots of changes, lots of stuff. They just passed their bond to build this thing. I got a lot of notes about doing things. The board chair and the superintendent that were there talked about the trust with them. And I would say Alexa is very moving forward. I've heard many comments against how she's doing things, and I would say that they're 100% wrong because we're very lucky to have her. Let's see. We will move into the evaluation process coming up in the next couple months. we need to keep, like, it also talked around keeping the board on track. We need to have mentioned the need for board retreat and training. So in December, I also want to talk to you guys about doing that in January or February. So if everybody can bring their calendars, we'll take a day, Saturday for the faith folks, and try and do that. Or maybe even we talked about Monday, Martin Luther King Day, if everybody's amenable to that. Let's see. We care about Alexa's success, because her success is our success as a board. And I love they mentioned Friday updates, which you do an awesome job at. Power with versus power over. I thought that was a good one.
I wrote that one down too.
And again, spend time getting to know each other and to celebrate each other. That's kind of why I brought the cupcakes in tonight, because we don't get a chance to celebrate each other very often. And 50 is a milestone. Welcome to the club. So that's what I had. Thanks.
I too went to the law conference. I think you summarized that really well, Craig, so I won't go into it. But one of the ones that I went to is called School Links, which is required by the state now, and it's funded. I didn't realize that they were giving us funding for it. So that was cool. It sounds similar to what Tiffany Vogel's already doing for us. But the one thing that I don't know if Tiffany does in her program is that the kids go on and they can see all the scholarships available, and they can click and apply from right there. Sorry, I should back up a little bit. School Links is for the high school and beyond plan. And Tiffany has that for all the kids, but very similar, a lot of the similar components, but I don't know. There were some kids from Ferris who came and presented and shared just their experience. They were a sophomore and a senior, I believe. And one of them said, I haven't changed my plan. I'm just stuck with it and just continuing on, and just talked about being in that program and that platform, and how she's getting scholarships and internships. She actually just finished an internship through that. So they can apply, and all the job postings are there for them. Their counselor sends them. So I thought that was pretty cool. They don't have to worry about email and things getting lost. It's all on one platform. And then the sophomore, she was like, oh, I've already changed like 6 times. So they can go in and continue, like, take these quizzes and read about different jobs and like, oh, I think I want to try this. What classes should I take? The one thing I thought that Ferris mentioned, the staff who was there presenting, she mentioned this is a big lift for staff, but it's also very beneficial because all staff get trained in it. And so they all understand what it takes for a student to graduate and how to help each of the kids, which it used to be just a handful of people who know the graduation requirements. So I thought that's kind of cool, and maybe even we'll learn it too.
Yeah.
And then one of the other things that I brought back from WASDA was there was like 5 of us who presented the equity training. And so I brought from our training that we presented, just if you weren't aware, there are standards for school boards so that we can govern well. And they are research-based. So I brought you each a lovely pamphlet so that you can know what all the standards are. And if you ever want to attend our equity trainings, we focus on number 6, which is equity. Thank you.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
Pass that out.
So I would say that I was in a strategic planning mode. Because I went to 3 strategic planning courses. I think that was my my thoughts for the week. Create a trust building strategic plan through an inclusive design process. So it's interesting because you think about it, and it went straight to what is a problem statement. And from the problem statement is how you develop your strategic plan. So it kind of threw me off and threw a couple of us off because I see it as when you're doing, in my world of transportation, right? You have a basis of design and you design your goals out of your problem statement. So it kind of threw me for a little bit, but thinking about it a little bit more again, our strategic plan and our goals that we align. Well, what are we trying to solve, right? And he also integrated, and I think this is where Eric, you were talking about essential and potential and all those. It's like we're solving a problem. We identify what the situation is, and we need to be vulnerable. We need to be willing to sit back and listen to our stakeholders and listened to the parents. And it's like, it was a great learning just as a person of asking the tough questions. We continue to ask, how you like ask your kid and you keep down to 5 questions and you actually get to the root of it. And so that was,
Interviews.
what's that?
Empathy interview.
The empathy interview. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just one of those things that was a big one takeaway from the first one. And then another one I want to highlight is student-centered strategic planning. So Lindsay and I went to that. Was really, really good. That was not Battleground. Who was that?
Grandview.
Grandview.
I brought them.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they didn't have another. So I'm glad you have one of those.
Really cool.
But it was, it says it right in there, whole learner, whole person. So really the emphasis is utilizing the students and figuring out what is the key performance, what are the key goals. And I think if I remember correctly, they did a lot of research, the superintendent, and went down and had like 15 or 20 of these goals. And then they had surveyed 250 kids. Anyway, it was 5th through 12th grade. And they will do the whole old school dot system, right? You get 4 dots and you get to go up there and pick if you want to put them all on the same one or if you want to split them up. And it did, when you step back, you could see some similarities and then you could see some differences between the different grades. And I thought that was really key. And it also gives them a voice, right? It gives them an opportunity to say, hey, this is where I feel like our goals are going to be. And then it had, of course, that was a little bit more qualitative. Qualitative, it had the parents and being able to have an opportunity on the board, just old school during a conference night or something, go up there and write down, just have the ability. Now, it takes time for somebody to go in with Anya or whoever to type it all up. But in the end, it worked out really well. The positive part is that we found out that he did it himself and he led all of it and he's willing to share with us. Can't remember his name. No, we Rob, Dr. Rob Darling. And we have his email and his phone number. Haven't called him yet, but he said we could, and get all of this stuff. And so pretty excited about that. And with Alexa's ability and a couple other people's ability, I think we can kind of roll that through. But really, again, it's that tell me more. And so we heard it in the first, we heard it in the second one, tell me more. What needs our full attention for the next 5 years? So I am excited about the strategic plan. In fact, Eric, you brought up the idea of students coming in here. I would like us to get our strategic plan kind of developed a little bit first, stronger before we bring them in, but I'm excited about integrating them. So anyway, lots of things on that. And then the next one was, ironically, on strategic plan. Energize and organize purposeful board meetings aligned with your district strategic plan. And I shared this with the crew that was there. Color coded. And it might be a little excessive at times, but what I love about it is it has the study sessions on here. And we already do this, but it's more visual and it provides the opportunity for the goals to be highlighted. And so we know when we're talking about it, and the teachers, presenters know, we can prepare, be thinking about the goals and be ready a little bit more. And then you have your business stuff down here that we always do. So anyway, sharing that, I'm excited about that, and just hearing the stories of how it helped everybody understand more. And so then their trajectory could be faster to the right direction they want. And then, of course, we had lots of conversations about the board or the bond too. So I'm sure that will be talked about some more.
Cool.
So I found out it was $600. I found it was $600 a piece, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to go and invest. That's
Just for people who don't know, when you become a board member, you are by default a registered member of WASDA per a WAC, per an RCW. And, we have to join every year. Provides education how to be a board member and what we do while we're a board member. One of the things they said, I can't remember which one it was, we're elected by the voters to serve the kids. That's the end thing. It's not, yes, we are elected by voters, but we're here for the kids. So, yeah, because Craig has to leave at 8:30, I would like to get to the action items and then we can come back if anybody has is that okay with everybody? All right, we have no items from the floor. We have a resolution number 1/24/25 exemption or certification of excess property tax. Brendan, will you explain that to me or to everybody like you did to me today?
Yes, so the reason why it's called an excess tax is because it's not a regular tax when it's maintenance and operations. When you go out for a levy and it gets voted on, they consider that an excess levy tax. So that's why it's considered an excess levy tax. And what you guys are approving today or signing off on this resolution is something you guys do annually when we have a levy. The state of Washington requires the board of directors to annually certify the county legislative authority the estimated tax to be collected for the school district in the next calendar year. So what you guys are looking at is the 2025 estimated tax of the collection. So that's what the resolution is.
That's based on the pass of the levy back in February.
Yep. And then what we do is they have an estimated, so each county gives me like an assessed valuation that they're estimating for the 2025 school year. We use those numbers with our $1.50, our goal, and that's how we come up with those numbers.
I'd like a motion, please.
Well, I had a question. There's the one for the levy. The other one is for the current bond.
Yep.
For the high school.
Yep.
Which closes out this December.
We have one that.
One more left.
This December and then also next.
We have one more year.
Yep.
Okay.
Move to approve resolution number 1.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. We also have approved ratio of ALE cert to staff. There was policy 2255 that was in your
Packet.
packet. Thank you. So I would ask for a motion for that one.
Move to approve the building and lease service.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Then our third thing is approve a district calendar for 25-26. I would have a question, just I will move to approve the district calendar. Do I can do that? I can do that because we're a smaller board. But if somebody else would like to do that, then
I'm to approve.
right. But we can discuss this. But so my question is, are we in alignment with our surrounding districts like we have been in the past? Because a couple years ago we had to change something.
Sometimes we don't know until they publish their calendars. We have our WEA, DPEA contract is open for negotiations this year. So we worked with DPEA to say, hey, do we want to keep the current CBA language around the development of next year's calendar? If not, it could be a while. We don't know when the next year's calendar would be published. So we shared the same interest in getting the 25-26 calendar up and going, also 26 and 27 under the current CBA language, just so that families could have a calendar posted. But we couldn't post it until after the board approved it. So we wanted to make sure it's going to follow suit. So we'll start, it's the exact same calendars we have now. I think that there has been talk about reconfiguring the calendar and conferences and those things. But for right now, that's going to be a couple years out.
The reason why I was so excited about it is that we landed on a great opportunity for Thanksgiving, but also we're not coming back on the 2nd of January. So I just was wanting to be excited about that again, 2 years in a row.
All right, further discussion?
Can we add an Alexa Almond Day? Like
All right.
Well,
I retract that statement.
well, then you have to go back to do that. You have to go back to the
union. Yeah.
that one policy that we
That's right. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
add those on.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, all in favor of approving district calendar as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. So now Craig can leave when he wants to leave, but we can go back to
Thank you.
board discussion. Like I said, I would like to, just for you, January, February-ish, on a Saturday for a board retreat, just to get us a little more educated. Strategic plan.
Great, can you send the resolution?
Oh. Yeah. Just remember, we're elected to be part of a team. We have the opportunities to learn together, celebrate together, and, take those opportunities as they come. So you guys have anything else for board discussion?
Would recommend trying to have the golden tree before February 11th.
Oh, let's just say that one.
No, not that.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, for February 11th. Cool. If there's, oh yeah, February 2nd.
We're really good.
Are those the financials? They were not in the package.
They were in the packet.
I looked.
We're in the confidential file.
I did. I looked in there.
It's in there.
Is it?
Yep.
I looked for it. There's a packet.
And then there's
You gotta go.
You
to
gotta-
confidence.
Is there no?
before you get in there and you go to board, whatever, then you go to the
You
date
click
for the
the
thing, then it brings up supplemental and confidential and the confidential file.
All right.
I would
I'd like
consider the
to
19th.
review those.
Martin Luther King Day.
What?
I would consider.
Joanne.
Just a second. Because you could bring
So again,
Thanks, guys.
Craig,
learn how to get here.
I
you need
did.
to sign that one.
I wanted
It was in
to
there.
the packet. But-
It's not,
everybody's
Okay.
done it.
Okay,
it's never been.
perfect.
Okay. I always thought it was always embedded. Full
Okay.
document.
So is it until we approval?
It was in the e-commerce.
Yes.
Okay.
There's
So-
a confidential file, but
Yep. All right. So is there any further discussion or anything? All right. We are in adjournment. Thank you for sticking it out, Brendan. I apologize again. Thank you for coming.
Wrestling.